My name is Paul Carlson. I am the owner of Carlson Co-Investments of Texas. I am a real estate investor and have been for the last 5 years. I've done multiple deals and bought and sold multiple properties. So what I want to talk about today is how to get the most for your home when you are looking to sell. I'm talking about this because in today's market, things have slowed down. It is no longer the 2 to 3% interest rates we were seeing just a couple of years ago. Now they have come down a little bit from the highs of the eights, but we're still seeing sevens, sixes, and the market is slow. Buyers are much more picky. Inventory is picking up, and some houses are just sitting for a long time. So the question is, how do you sell your house for the most money and get the most bang for your buck in an efficient way? So first off, you have to take consideration of what your house is, what your situation is. So if you have a home that needs work, let's say you've lived in it for 20 years, even if it's outdated, people aren't going to be paying the premiums of an updated house or a new house. So you're never going to get new house pricing, but you can get updated house pricing. And in order to do that, you have to have your house appropriately updated for the area. Now, I say that, and it's important because it's easy to shoot too high or too low. I have walked into homes that were worth $750,000, but cheap materials and everything was put in, so they sat on the market because people who can afford that kind of home are picky. They have options to choose from, and so if you treat a McMansion like a rental property or a low end rental property, you're going to get yourself into trouble financially, and people aren't going to want the product that you have to offer. Similarly, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you might have a house worth 150K and you can put the fanciest countertops and cabinets and paint colors and designer hardwood floors in there. You're not going to get your money back for that because that market only supports 150K. And when homes sell, appraisers, they run comps. And so they see every other home in the market sold for 150. You're not going to get 185, 190 because you put an additional 40 grand of upgrades into the home. So it's about looking at the market, seeing what's out there, what do people want, and then meeting that level. You have to be affordable to the right area without being either too cheap or too expensive. Secondly, having a good realtor is really, really important. And I highly suggest that you vet your realtors. In the DFW market where I am, there are way too many realtors. There's a lot of realtors, and a few of them get a lot of the work, and a lot of them don't get much. But you need to look at the realtor's quality of work and how they care for their listings. So ask them to see previous listings. How did they take the pictures? Did they take a professional camera in there, and at least if they did it themselves, and get good pictures? Or did they hire a professional? Or did they go in there with their smartphone? I've seen a lot of realtors who all they do is they use their smartphone because they want to save a couple $100 on their listing, and so that doesn't come out of their commission or they don't have to charge their client. But that couple $100, when people are sitting there looking on Zillow or Redfin or whatever it is, it makes a big difference. The presentation of your home means more people are going to want to see it. And that's really important to get that right. So having a good realtor who can, one, protect you in how they do their work, but two, protect you from yourself. Because often we want more than the property's worth. I want to get as much as I can for a property. Um, and it's tempting to try to go a little bit higher. But if nothing in the market has sold like your house for, let's say, 160 or 260, it doesn't matter, and you just try a little bit of a bump, sometimes $5,000 or $10,000 is going to make that property sit for months and months. And then you get eaten up in the costs of holding the property. So paying your mortgage, paying taxes, paying insurance, upkeep, all that kind of stuff. They all get eaten up in that time. And so you end up losing even more money instead of selling your property quickly and efficiently. Secondly, if they list too low, you might lose out on some opportunity, although listing low will often bring in people who are going to bid it up. So that is a technique you can use. Another thing to consider when you're looking at selling your home is your time frame. How are you doing financially? Are you able to sit on the property for a little while? Because if you know the market hits a certain point, let's say your home in your area sells for 250 and you want to list it for 250, in this market things are a little slower. So being in a good place financially where you can actually afford to hold on to that property, so not letting yourself get behind on payments where you start having foreclosure issues. I know stuff does happen. um, that makes a big difference. So being in a good position means that you can hold for a while. Now, sometimes people don't want to deal with a property. Let's say you own a property because maybe mom and dad passed away and you inherited it, but you live in Florida and the property's in Texas. You don't want to come over here, deal with it, update it, all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes you just want to sell it quick. And in that situation, you have to most likely either know somebody who wants it and is willing to live in a home that is maybe a little less updated and give them a slight discount for it, or you have to sell it to an investor. And an investor, if they're flipping it, when they sell it, they're going to have 8% closing costs because of the 2% closing costs and then 3% for realtor fees. So that alone, they're going to look for a bigger discount than that because, of course, they want to make money. And that doesn't include rehab costs and that doesn't include financing costs. Typically, flippers are looking for anywhere between 70 and 75% of value. And then you have to subtract repairs because of how those costs line up. So if you have to work with an investor, work with a good investor. This is kind of your options. What's that saying with, if you want work done, you can either have fast work, you can have good work, or you can have cheap work, and you get to pick two. You can't have all three. And investors are like that. A lot of investors, they might offer a lot more in a quick closing, but they may not be able to pull it off. And so someone who is reputable and able to come through and do that um, is going to be your best option if you don't want to deal with it and you need to get it off your hands. That that's your best bet. The ability to get more also, if you're more flexible with your equity, like if you can take payments over time, uh, that will help you get a higher price. Now, you don't get a lump sum of cash, which is unfortunate, but if it doesn't work out for the investor or for maybe the end buyer, sometimes you can do that with an end buyer too. Uh, that may be an option that you get your full purchase price, even if the property's a little in disrepair, because if they get to take their payments over time, it doesn't affect them as much up front. And so understanding people's situation that they're in is going to help you sell. So maybe the property is still very livable. Who can you sell to that you can get the most from? The best bet would be a family who doesn't mind living in an outdated property as long as one, it's still functioning, and two, they get a little bit of a discount so that they can put that money in towards the property later as things, the carpet wears out and they need to put in vinyl plank or new carpet, or the AC unit runs out. Those kinds of things, that's where you're going to get your best bet because they're not looking to flip and make a return. They just want a little bit of a discount on a property so they can get some equity. But if you're looking to sell to an investor, they're going to want money. It all depends on the situation. And so if you can find somebody who maybe they even want a fixer-upper, that could be a good option. You can get a little more that way because, again, they're looking to stay in the property. Now, when you're doing seller finance on a primary residence, there are laws in place that look into the Dodd-Frank Act, and I would say talk to a lawyer about that before you go down that path. If you're selling to an investor, then that's not as much of a problem because it's not a primary residence. Um, so in short, in order to get the most for your property, you need to understand other people's situations and understand your own well. Understand what other people need, what other people want, and what you want, and see if you can meet somewhere in the middle. If you can get a pristine property and put it on the market because you have the money to do that, then you should. That's how you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck. Because at least in my market, stuff still moves pretty quick if it's nice. If it's one of the better houses on the market, you're going to get full price, and they're going to be able to move in. They get everything new as long as it's up to the standards of that neighborhood. That's how you're going to get above the competition. If you want to leave it and sit on it for 6, 7, 8 months, then you can leave it alone. People are definitely willing to pay more for something that is like this versus something that's like this. This was one of the properties that I recently did this year, and it made a huge difference. It sold relatively quickly once we put it on the market because we had then fixed it up. You simply can't put money into the property, or you don't want to deal with the property, give someone reputable like myself a call. So you can reach out to me through the YouTube channel or find our website, which is going to be in the link below, and reach out to us through there. And you'll be able to get in touch with someone who's quality and who's going to actually take care of you. I make sure that our people are taken care of, even if it's not the highest offer in the world. It's going to be closed, and you're not going to have to deal with it anymore.